There it is.
Don't move, Neil. Don't move, Neil.
No, sorry. I'll try not to. Oh, no, here we go.
I've been speaking to when they brought Frankie's car in, of course, he drove it in. And the noise just attracted people.
Well, he beat some top drivers to do it as well.
Ricky Stenhouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, NASCAR champion, you know.
Who won Daytona?
Yeah, one Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Beat him. I know. Saw him off.
He kicked his lad out of his house and said, "Right, you've got his room. You're staying there for 2 weeks." And he meant it. He wouldn't let me go home.
Hard racing, I used to get loads of damage. I think I've seen consecutive meetings when I came back with front axle totally wrecked, really. 13 consecutive meetings, I think.
The story behind that, Neil, is Barber put up some extra money and him and Peter agreed no matter who won, they were going to split it.
Is that
right, John?
Yeah, that's right.
Hi everyone, welcome to the latest edition of the Talking Stocks podcast. In this show, we have a very special guest in part 2, none other than the king himself, John Lund. Also, we're giving away a limited edition print of John as a prize draw, so don't miss that at the end of the show. But to enter the prize draw, you do have to become a subscriber or are a subscriber. So to do so, all you have to do is press the button on the YouTube channel and away you go. You can enter the draw and win one of these prints. Good luck. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Talking Stocks podcast with me, your host, Neil Randon. Along with Ian Higgins and Colin Castley, we will be talking about events of the past month, maybe a bit more than that, and catch up with events that have been going on around the world. And later on in part 2, we'll have our special guest, who is none other than the king himself, John Lund. So that is something well worth looking forward to, hanging on to watch. That will come in the second half. Right. So Ian and Colin, welcome back. It's been a bit of a while actually. I mean, Christmas has come and gone. We're now into February, which is quite remarkable. Colin, I mean, you've been up to quite a bit since Christmas. I mean, where have you been? You've been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Good, you had a good time out there?
Yeah, it was a really good time. Lucky enough to get out to the Chili Bowl, and whilst I was out there's a couple of bands that were on that I quite like, who probably won't come over to the UK, so I took the opportunity to go and see them. Music and motorsport are my two passions.
Yeah,
and that's in the background there. You can see it's the Turnpike Troubadours with Oklahoma band, and obviously the crowd just went wild every time they mentioned anything to do with Oklahoma. It was a bit cold out there. The wind chill was down to about -30 on some days, but with the Chili Bowl being indoors, that doesn't matter.
No, exactly. So you also went to. Did you go to ice hockey as well? That's you looking a bit cold outside.
It was -30,
whatever.
-32 there, the state capital, and I got out of my car for about 30 seconds and got straight back in it.
Yeah,
I did go to the ice hockey in Dallas, and I have to say, the ice hockey there is the best sporting event I've ever been to.
Is that right? More than NFL?
More than NFL. Yeah,
really?
It's a fantastic show from the start to the end of it. Walking up to the stadium, there's bands playing outside, there's things to do for the kids, and you get inside, there's the same thing there. There's photo booths, photo opportunities, and it is just a fantastic night out. And what goes on on the field, or the rink as they call it, I forgot what it's called for a minute. What goes on the rink is almost secondary to what goes on. The scoreboards have got games going on. They've got freebies and giveaways, and it is just a fantastic night out. And it starts off with them singing the national anthem, which everybody just sings along to.
Yeah,
it's
along with their arm like that.
I think we should be doing that. And I think stock cars should be learning from this type of thing, making a show of it rather than just the on-track action being what brings people in. It needs to be a complete package, and the hockey is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it looks at it as well as the stadium, because obviously an ice hockey rink is smaller than a football pitch, like American football pitch, or maybe a basketball. Have you been to basketball as well? Have you done basketball before?
I've been to basketball in the past, but I haven't been for a few years.
Yeah.
But the same sort of deal there.
Yeah, and the thing is, ice hockey, it's so physical as a sport as well, isn't it? That makes it quite exciting. Yeah, so it's an indoor, dramatic, sort of like a setting for the whole thing.
Yeah, you close up, you see all the hits and everything. So it's
Yeah.
just a great night out.
Yeah.
How many
You ever been out
miles
to
do you
see
do,
it?
Colin?
How many miles?
Yeah.
Probably about 3,000.
Bloody hell.
There's a few toll roads that are out there as well, which I hadn't kind of figured out how much I was spending until I got home. It cost me £400 in tolls.
Jeez.
So I'll be going the back roads next time I go.
Mind you, how long would that take you? It'd take you forever, though, wouldn't it? On the back roads?
Yes, yeah. If you go on some of the back roads, they're known as, some of those small towns are known as speed trap towns for a good reason.
Is that right?
Because if you're going over 30 mile an hour, you've got a cop car waiting for you, and they're just pulling people over.
Yeah.
Left, right, and centre. So some of those small towns are, especially in Oklahoma, are way different than what we used to.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, real Hicksville, if you like.
They're small towns. They're small towns.
Yes, I'm sure it's quite interesting. Did I talk about this on? I probably did once before, but I'll say it again. If a mate of mine I used to work with Motorsport News. He drove a car across America once, and he broke down in somewhere near in Alabama or somewhere on the way across from Florida to LA. And he went into this cafe or bar. It was a bar, and asked if he could use a phone or whatever because he needed to get someone to come and get the car. And this chap said, "You're not from around here, are you?" And he said, "No." "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from England." And the chap said, "Is that in Canada?" And I thought, "Oh my God!" He says, "Doesn't he know where England is?" So he shows how far out in the wilds he was. So he had no idea. But yeah, so that sounds like you had a great time out there, mate. I mean, it sounds good. So yeah, and as you know, with me, I've been doing this. This is what I've been doing since Christmas. I've been putting this John Lund 70th birthday, 70th anniversary BriSCA drawing together, which I really enjoyed doing. To be honest, it took a while to do and to figure out what to do. Because the interesting thing was, I had to try and think what car to do, and I had my own ideas. I thought the '88 car would be an ideal one, and thought of one or two others, like the one he drove to win at Bradford, the gold one. I thought that might be a good car to put him in. But when I put a thing out on Facebook and said to people, I put a question out, what's your favourite John Lund car? And I thought, bound to be an overall winner, but everyone came up with a different answer. Every single car he's ever driven got mentioned more than once. Even the last one he's been driving all the time, that last tarmac car, the green one he had, all of them got a mention. The Agrifab one, I think you picked that, didn't you, Colin? You liked?
Yeah, that's my favourite.
Yeah. So, and in the end, I was lucky because your good self, Colin, a picture you sent me was of him in the cab, which just captured him perfectly. Really concentrating, driving the car, and I mixed that with another picture of Brian Weatherhead, is it? Who gave me another photo of the actual car as well. So I merged the two together to come up with that. And anyway, so that's what I've been doing. Like I'm saying, it's been on sale with a limited edition print, 225 copies. Since the last 2 or 3 weeks. Actually longer than that, isn't it? When did it come out? I'm trying to remember now. About a month, I suppose. Yeah, and then of course we got Mr. Ian Higgins. What have you been up to, Ian, since Christmas? I know before Christmas, actually.
No, it was during Christmas. I went away for Christmas. To be honest, since my kids have grown up and left home, me and the wife, we've never done Christmas at home. We used to go away in the motorhome, or our Christmas dinner for the past 4 or 5 years has been a curry at our favourite curry house in Bradford and stuff like that. So, but this year we decided we were going to treat ourselves, and we disappeared off to Cancun in Mexico for Christmas, and we had a ball. It was fantastic.
Having a ball is probably an appropriate way of describing it, actually.
Yeah, well, it's
here we go. There it is.
Don't move, Neil. Don't move, Neil.
No, sorry. I'll try not to. Oh, no. Here we go. Sorry. There he is in all his glory.
That was.
Where was this then? And what? Explain this story behind this picture.
Right. Well, that where we were at, a lot of places they have a thing called a booze cruise.
Right.
You know, holiday destinations where you all pay a load of money, you go on a boat, you all have a load of drinks, this, that, and the other. This one isn't. This one is called the Boobs Cruise.
The Boobs Cruise, right? Okay.
The Boobs Cruise.
Right.
So what you do is you walk, you go up there, and basically,
I wish I had
as you walk up, you say to all the ladies, "Right, ladies, come on, give us your bikini tops." So you know you don't have to, but you know the majority of people are going to do it because, to be honest, it's all a bit of a naturist type cruise was this, and then you end up drinking and just for me, in all honesty, Neil, I'm not exactly a naturist, but can't be bothered with clothes. It saves laundry, mate. It saves laundry.
So you travel light, don't you? Tend to.
Yeah, we do.
When you go on holiday.
We didn't this year. We had big suitcases this year.
I know. I'm going to say because you were taking part in all these theme nights at this.
Every night had a different theme, and at the place we were at, it was all inclusive. It was absolutely fantastic. The food was amazing, but every night they had a themed night. So that one was UV night, I believe. Yeah. So basically, when you go into the place on the night, 90% of people have got all UV. I've got a lot of Dayglow tattoos on there and everything. And what they do is you go in and after about an hour in, they put on a show for you and they have some dancers come in and like that night they had them all done in neon. So all you saw was like neon things moving around. You couldn't actually see the dancers, so to speak. It's just all the way that they moved and everything. And they put a show on that lasts an hour. So like that night was neon night. We did a circus night where they had a trapeze artist and everything.
Goodness.
It was just
Sounds brilliant
grown-ups holiday. They say it's an 18 to 30s for grown-ups.
Oh, excellent. No, that sounds
and to be fair, they start drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning and they're still drinking at 3 o'clock the next morning and the music never stops.
Goodness.
So
excellent. And you knew
after a week it got a little bit much. The last couple of days we were lagging.
Lagging a bit. Well, you're getting a bit tired by then, I should imagine. I mean, it's a bit of you go home for a rest, don't you? Really, after a holiday like that. So you took all the gear, all the clothes with you then. You knew beforehand what the theme was going to be, so you knew what to take.
Yeah. On the hotel's website, they tell you what each theme is.
Right.
So I found
you're very creative, I have to say.
My good lady found a fantastic website called Shein, which is all, I mean, it's all, comes in from China. So if I wanted something to fit me, I had to get quadruple X because, if you got normal XL, it'd hardly go over your arm. But bought a load of stuff. And I mean, you obviously, a lot of people won't seen the pictures, but you've seen all the outfits that we wore. Yes. I didn't spend 100 quid on all them outfits, Neil.
Yeah, amazing. No, it was great. I mean, fantastic.
It was cheap as chips, but at the end of the day, mate, you're a long time dead, aren't you? So
you
enjoy life while you can.
Absolutely. I'll just throw the last one in, which is obviously there we go. Enjoying the scenery with these
beautiful rooftop bar with a jacuzzi and a swimming pool up on the roof.
So this wasn't a themed event. It's just you deciding.
The hotel was the hotel that we stayed at. The whole place was clothing optional. So
was that right? I never know. Interesting.
So,
it's funny though. I mean, I've been on a nudist beach before, but you had a choice to wear clothes or not. I don't think we knew at the time. It was in Portugal actually. I always remember we were just looking out to sea and whatever, and there was these two blokes who were partners who had an Alsatian dog, and they were throwing a frisbee to each other. The dog chased after them. I thought, this is a really dangerous thing to be doing with no clothes on. Chucking a frisbee at each other with the dog trying to catch it. I think, my goodness. But but I just think it's great fun. I think it's what you've done is brilliant. But I suppose really at this stage we ought to get on with talking about the thing. Most of our viewers will be wanting to talk about, and that is stock car racing. So we better get back to normality. So here we go. So we'll talk in this episode, in part 1, we'll talk about events of the last month or so, the Autosport show, the Chili Bowl Nationals, Motorsport with Attitude, and Team GB in New Zealand. And then in the second half, we'll have John Lund himself along to talk about his career and just general chatting, over his last 48 years in the sport. And there'll be a prize giveaway right at the end as well. So, which will be the John Lund print. So you can get that as a gift if you win the prize. So, right, okay. So let's get on with it. So yeah, Autosport International then. Now, the reason why I sort of put this first is just because I thought, well, actually, because it happened first, but as an event for BriSCA F1 in particular, BriSCA, it proved to be actually really, really successful. Probably the most successful one they've done. And the main reason behind that is because they were brought into the main auditorium as part of the show, rather than just doing the live action stuff, which they do every year, and this always goes down really well. They were brought in and they were interviewed on the live stage in the main part of the show, which is the first time that's ever happened. And that's all down to a guy called Ben Wibley, who's the director of events at Autosport International, has been for the last couple of years, since 2022, I think, when it came back after COVID. And yeah, he wanted them in the show. He wanted them interviewed, and because he just thought they were really good. So yeah, and so in the end, I mean, Frank was invited. He was interviewed previously, I think, in late afternoon on a Friday, first of all, and they brought him back on the following day or the day after as to talk on the live stage with Natalie Pinkham, who's on Sky Sports F1, one of the main people on there. So that was a fantastic, it's a fantastic thing really to be involved in. I don't know whether you watched the interview or not, but it was it was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I think the indoor action has always been a good thing for the Formula Ones. I've come out of there before, and people are buzzing about what they call the BriSCAs. They don't call them stock cars; they call them the BriSCAs. And I have known people go to meetings on the back of that. So it does work, but getting them into the main hall and getting an interview like this is really good for the sport. And Frankie and Phoebe are two good people to talk about the sport as well. They're not lost for words. They live, breathe it, and they've been around it for so long, so they know everything about it, and they do really come over very well. Another thing, I didn't go to the show myself, but from people who I've been speaking to, when they brought Frankie's car in, of course, he drove it in, and the noise just attracted people. Now, this is the thing about stock cars, the noise just attracts people. It does in the live action, and it did there. So as soon as he'd done that, it grabbed everybody's attention, and I think it was a fantastic thing, and well done to everybody who got involved in doing it.
Yeah, because I know that Natalie Pinkham said as the car came in, she said on the stage that just you could feel the the noise, it sort of pounds your chest, the roar of that V8 engine, because that's the thing. Frank revved it up just before he switched it off, which is the ideal thing to do with it. And his car looked absolutely mint as well. It looked spot on, really great, great paint job and whatever on it, and it just looked beautiful. He had clean overalls on, which was another bonus. He had brand new overalls on, and he wasn't caked in oil. And and obviously Phoebe's really, really good, being interviewed, and it's good to have both genders up on the stage talking about both genders, two genders up on the stage, shall I say, up on stage on the stage talking about the sport, and and it was very engaging, and it just went down a treat. And apparently, I know Sophie at BSCDA said that they got so many hits on the BSCDA site over it. It did cause a reaction. So that's great.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Really, the fact that the oval side was always overlooked a little bit, wasn't it? I mean, I know Malcolm Forbes ran for quite a few years. He ran the oval show, which was good, but still felt you were second fiddle.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think what they realised, the NEC, you know, the organisers of the show, is that when they actually stopped the oval show, a lot less people came. You know, because there was a lot of people went to just the oval part. You know, a lot of the main arena people didn't often go into the oval part, but it did work vice versa. And I think you know, this new chap, I think he clicked on and thought, well, you know, we are losing an audience here. And obviously one of the biggest audiences in oval racing, aside from the bangers, etc., is the F1s. And I think he saw a little bit of a trick there for their benefit, which obviously ends up being our sports benefit. As you say, all credit to Frank. The car was absolutely superb. He was in clean overalls, like you said. Frank can always talk, you know, Frank always talks well anyway. And, you know, Phoebe's fantastic at that as well. So, no, all in all, you've got to see, it was just everything was positives for the sport, really.
Yeah, I think it, like I say, it's probably the best show for BriSCA F1s we've had, to be honest, since the early days when they did that live event in the evening where that's sort of like they put on a proper race meeting, if you remember back in the day. But God, so many years ago, that was like when I was.
I've forgotten all about that.
Yeah, it was years ago, 25, 20, what was that, 25 years ago? It must have been something like that. Huge, a long time ago. Anyway, might not have even been edited then, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, and so this is the I think the best show for us as a sport since then, and you know, well played everyone, to be honest. Good stuff. Yeah, so that is the Autosport International. Chili Bowl next, I think, would be the thing to talk about. Yeah, so that was. I mean, you obviously went, Colin. How did it compare to other years for the you know, as far as you're concerned?
The Chili Bowl is always good. It doesn't matter who's there. They've got 300 or nearly 400 drivers going for like 12 to 20 starting spots in the A main. So it's the racing is absolutely fantastic. It's the best racing I think can see all year. Every place is because the way they do this qualifying, it's passing points. So the more cars you pass, the better chance you've got of making the A main. But if you make one slight little mistake or something happens, that's almost your week gone. And Tom again had a bit of bad luck in his heat. A car spun in front of him. He tangled with it. It put him back a little bit. And on the restart, he was obviously quicker than the guy in front. The guy in front didn't go. Tom did, and he went over the back wheel and flipped it.
Yeah,
so
there he is.
From there onwards, he was really going to struggle to
on the back foot then, wasn't he?
Yeah. But after that, he drove fantastic. Passing cars, he done really well. So with a bit more luck, he could have been up there. It's just, I mean, Carl Larson was there, and he got nowhere because he's one of the best drivers in America. But he rolled it.
He was a young Dutch lad, Colin, because a young Dutch lad.
He did very well.
Didn't
he? Yeah, he did very well.
Yeah, he's kind of living out there in Oklahoma near Tulsa. He's helping a few guys, and he's got a couple of rides out there. But he's done really well because he's 16, 17 years old.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
What is his name? Can't pronounce.
Wout Hoffmans.
That's it.
His family been involved in Formula One for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Dad owned a car, and they raced at Venray for many, many years. And he's living the dream. So fair play to him. He's going for it. He's well respected out there. They love him out there. He drives well, and I think he's got a good future. If he can, he's young enough to do it as well.
Yeah.
If he can keep at it, I think he'll be one of the stars of the future in sprint car and midget racing in the States. Fair play to him, and very impressed with him. And he's also good at the camera, which you need to be out there when people interview them. You've got to have that, and he's very good at that. So, well impressed with him. And there was Jack France, who again, for his first time out there, he done really well. It's not an easy thing to get used to. You don't get many practice laps on the Sunday. They have a practice day. You get about 4 or 5 laps in the morning and 4 or 5 laps in the afternoon as well. before your night qualifying, you get 4 hot laps, and then you're straight into the racing. Now, Jack was with the draw. He got drawn at the back of his heat, which means he needed to pass cars, and he was doing well. And then I think he had a fuel pump failure, and that again set him back because he got no passing points. So he had to go into a non-qualifiers race. But for the amount of experience, a lot of people were impressed with what he done. And I think if he goes back, he'll do well. Needs a bit more seat time, which everybody does, and I think that's what even Rob Speak needed, a bit more seat time.
Yeah,
well, Rob said, I spoke to Rob, and
I did as
Rob
well.
said it's the hardest thing he's ever driven.
Yeah, he said it's the fastest thing he's ever driven. Yeah, the
fastest and the hardest, and he could have gone out again, but he was absolutely
knackered. I know. He said his fitness, he needed to be fitter. He said he wasn't fit enough for it. That's what he said. And he's fit as a flea, and he doesn't. He wasn't, he was completely spent by it. Because I did wonder why he didn't go out again, because I saw, he could have gone into, because he qualified for the next level up on the Saturday, and I never saw him again. And I think it's probably, on
the Saturday, he come right through. He's up at the front, and then maybe the fitter lads kind of caught up with him, and he was hanging on a bit at the end. I don't know, but it's a different style of driving. We've seen from Ryan and Tom when they've come back how they drive at Formula One different. It's a different style of driving. You can't drive into the corners like you do in a stock car. You've got to throw it in and back it in, and to get that in 4 laps is bloody hard. You want to figure that out. I'm going to do it.
I think. I mean, we've said this before on here that we feel that it's improved Tom and Ryan's driving. I think it'll do the same for Jack, because coming back here, everything's almost in slow motion.
Absolutely.
And having said that, while we're mentioning Ryan, hats off to him for his final.
I meant to, absolutely. I wish I should have put that in the list. Yeah, Ryan did a top job out there. Because he had issues, didn't he, with the car was overheating. I think early on in the first night he was there, and they decided not to risk it, and eventually got the car going, and he won his B main, didn't he? What a brilliant effort that was to do that.
I mean, especially around Volusia, so absolutely, it's a flat out track. 130 average, something like that. And then when you come back to race over here, like you say, everything happens in slow motion. Talking to the Dutch guy about, that's what he said when he raced his sprint car, something like Knoxville on the Saturday, and he flew back and done Blauhaus a couple of days later, and he said it was like slow motion. He said I could see everything in front of me, what was happening.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
I thought Tom's car looked real good as well in the
spectacle. The paint job was excellent. But
then everybody else was running orange this year.
I know. Everybody said it's the same thing, wasn't it? But he did
a hell of a lot of people come ask me. He said, "Have you ever been to that Skegness Raceway? What's it like?" So it's brilliant. I've been there before. It's brilliant. You want to come over, and a lot of people were interested in our racing because of that. It kind of sparks an interest. So,
I think they, Rob went out there with the idea was basically to try and get people interested in the live feed for the World Final. I think that's the reason why behind it all. And then, of course, while he was out there, he got interested in this car and he had a go in it, and he bought it. Basically, bought that car that he raced, and it's now on its way over here. It's on its way. It's going to be. He's bringing it home with him.
In a way, I think it's a shame it's coming back.
That's right. Stay
out there for another year, maybe. Yeah. And whoever won the F1 World Final got to race it at the Chili Bowl next year.
That would have been a good idea. Unless it's Tom, of course, we would be going anyway. But I mean, but you would hope he would be anyway. So it's just so he's decided to buy the thing, and he's bringing it back. It's halfway across the Atlantic as we speak, I think. But I said to him, "What are you going to do with it?" And I think doesn't know really. Just wanted it.
He'll go in the new restaurant at Skeg Vegas.
Oh yeah, but I don't think the restaurant's happening for a bit though, is it? But he may put it in the shop just as a display, I think. But
that's part of the plan, isn't it? The downstairs area, he's having a lot of glass, and then he's gonna he's got certain cars that he'll put in there and display and that. So
so this one will be in there. But fair play to him. He did really well though, considering he had no time to practice or anything, just straight out there. I mean, he did right.
He knew nothing about it, though, did he? It wasn't planned that he was going to race.
No, it wasn't intended to at all. It was just, I think it was him and Jamie Davison were winding each other up about buying a car or something, and they ended up, I'll buy that one. So he ended up getting it. It's unbelievable. But yeah, then to say, Ryan did a brilliant job in America as well, and he'd be going back. He'll be doing the World of Outlaws soon, I think, won't he? Is that the plan?
I think it's the next few days, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So fair play to me, to win the B main like he did. And he drove one. He beat some top drivers to do it as well in that B main.
Ricky Stenhouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, NASCAR champion, you know.
Who won Daytona?
Yeah, one Daytona 500. Yeah. Beat him. I know. Saw him off. You know, so that's extraordinary.
Ryan's going to be terrible now, isn't he?
Oh, he'll be unbearable, won't he? He will. But fair play to him. He's doing a sterling job out there. And,
absolutely.
And I bet he wishes the World Final this year was on shale. I bet he does, because he'd be, I think, as I've said before, I think he's the quickest on shale at the moment, and he'd be even quicker now. But the British is there for him if he wants it at Autosport, because that'd be a great race between him and Tom if they're at the front. Well, whoever's up there, But it does improve it has improved their driving without question.
Definitely,
undoubtedly has done.
Yeah.
Just reading track conditions and just the fact that it's much slower over here now as well. So yeah, so that was quite. I can say it's a fantastic event. I watched it all on Flow Racing.
If you can get out there anytime. If you can get out there, it is a fantastic week of racing. You don't see any better racing than that.
No, I don't think so. It's just captivating from start to finish, the whole thing. And he's finished. It's over really quickly before you know it. It's all over. Even though it's 5-6 days of racing, it still seems
like quick.
It does. Amazing stuff. Yeah. So that was the Chili Bowl. Let's say Ryan out in Volusia. So what happened next? The Motorsport with Attitude show. So here's I think the car that won the that's the Dan Johnson Autographs car, won the
Colin North.
The North Trophy, Colin North Trophy, didn't it, or something like that? Yeah, it's a beautiful looking thing.
That's look good.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's been lots of talk about what happened to the show with their live action arena and the fact that they were unable to continue with it, basically because of this, which was the fact that there was too much smoke in the arena, causing carbon monoxide levels to get too high, and so the problem is because it was crying shame really, because the actual arena itself looked ideal for putting on an event like that, and they obviously put a huge amount of effort into it to get this all ready. It's just that without ventilation or massive extractor fans, this was always going to be a risk, and so it proved.
Yeah, unfortunately, the MWA, it's always been stop and start, hasn't it? They did the first one, and it was there was a few issues which you hoped he'd resolve for year 2, and they didn't quite come off. Then it was supposed to move to down south, and then COVID hit, didn't it?
Yeah.
So they moved it to this venue last year, and it was all right, but everybody was crying out for live action.
Live action, I was there. That was the thing, wasn't it?
But one of the we didn't attend it this year with the carts or whatever for various reasons. But one of the reasons was I had a fear over the ventilation issue, which I did mention to our drivers in our private group.
And you mentioned it on here at the last podcast as well.
Yeah,
you did have reservations.
I'd been out to a show in Holland. Leeuwarden, is it, Colin? I think.
Oh yeah.
And it's a brilliant show, and but they had massive extractors, massive doors open, and even then it got shut down for an hour because the carbon monoxide levels were too high. With this, I felt, I don't sound too negative, but I felt this year was a make or break for MWA.
Really?
And I personally believe they should have run the live action. And I said it a year ago to Dave when he told me he was going to take it inside. I said, you're better off taking the risk and doing it outside. And I personally believe if it had gone outside, all right, there would have still been the issues that people had with queuing and tickets and whatever. But this is the big one. When 18 people end up in hospital, you know, it's not good for the whole of oval racing, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, the publicity, you know, that gathered as a result, you know, you know, like I say, it got on the ITV news even, you know, about it, and that's not what you want. You know, you want it to, you know, it's just one of the things on the, you know, on the online thing, you know, online news on ITV. It's just it's a crying shame, to be honest, because like I say, they put such a lot of effort into it all. You know, and they work really hard, and and we're a very small sport compared to to other sports, and so we all really want to look out for each other. And nobody on here wants to criticise anybody else on how they do things. Far be it for me to harp on about anything really, but it's just a crying shame because there will be, as with all these things, if you carry on regardless when there are issues that maybe need addressing, you're going to be held to account, and so there will be repercussions, and it's unfortunate, and we just hope that they can be resolved for hopefully for next year, and let's hope it does come back next year, and I hope they do manage to get it sorted out and rebuild rebuild the reputation as a result. I hope they do, because the rest of the show, the stuff inside was all perfectly good. From what I could tell, it was very popular. A lot of people said lots of positive things about it. It was just that the live action stuff, which is what a lot of people coming a long way to come and watch.
Well, as we said earlier with that, Frankie, the noise of the cars attracts people. So seeing static cars, it is great, but you do like to see them going around. And I'm with Ian. I think had they had it outside, the arena where they had the live action, use that for static cars as well. So give everybody a bit more space and the ability to walk around cars. Again, when you see a static car like that, you want to walk around it, get pictures of it. But when sometimes they can be jammed in a bit too compact, and that takes that out of it. You miss cars that are kind of maybe tucked away somewhere. So have 3 halls there, live action outside. I think it would have been perfect.
Yeah. Well,
I know quite a few. 1 or 2 people did comment to me that there wasn't a lot of trade stands this year.
Well, they're not.
And I think, I know a few people sort of decided not to do it. They gave it a miss. Obviously, you've got to charge a price. You've got to make a profit out of it. You're not doing it as a charity.
No.
But, it's... people said to me that, the static display, particularly what you're showing there, the heritage, that went down really well.
I think it always does. I think
disappointed by the number of trade stands. I think there was McGill's there. I think, like even Speedway Fabrications, I think they only had a car there. They weren't selling like they were the year before. I don't think there was any Gamble Motorsport. There wasn't Redline. So I think there's quite a few traders missing this year.
Was they been at the Autosport show? Would that have probably affected their, the likelihood of them going along to this, perhaps?
Yeah, possibly. But I just, it's always sort of stumbled along as the MWA, and I honestly felt this year could be the make or break of it. And I don't want to knock Dave; he'll be feeling bad enough as it is. But I personally believe that was the nail in the coffin, mate.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right.
There is a need for a show, because as
absolutely,
I said before,
I agree.
You've got to keep people interested. People saying how many new people are going to come along to it. That's not really important. You've got to, stock car fans have already bought into the sport. You've got to keep them interested and prevent them from drifting away. Because once they drift away, they ain't coming back. So
you have a catch-22, Colin, don't you? In the fact that the traders are going to go, oh, well, after all that's happened, how are we going to go next year? So then the spectators are sort of going to go, well, oh, there's no traders going. And it is a catch-22, isn't it? I don't want it to end. I'd love for it to continue. Lessons learned. Let's try and move forward. But, it's...
Got to restore the confidence somehow.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
It'll take a while, but you've got to give them we've got to hope that they are able to, or something can happen. Actually, if they manage to get it, maybe the live action outside even, or some. I don't know. Don't know what the answer is, to be honest. But let's hope they can make things better after this, because obviously it wasn't the show that they hoped. But there we go. Right, on to the next subject, which is Team GB out in New Zealand. That's a bit of a let's show this picture. That sort of sums up, I think, the atmosphere and the how sort of overjoyed the team were at the results they got. They did fantastically well. I mean, they got third overall. From a position where it looked like it was all over. A fight in that run off for third. They were 5 laps down, I think, weren't they? With a lap to go.
That's New Zealand stock car racing.
I know, unbelievable. And yet they managed, through some fantastic blocking from the likes of Frankie Jnr, in particular, who's got loads of rave reviews for his efforts, and the 2 Dutch Tesla boys, and Charlie Sauder, obviously, winning races, and Frank doing his usual stuff. As a team effort, they did a fantastic job. And they had massive support from the crowd. They're probably the most popular team out there, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, because when I've been out there before, the fans actually love Frankie. They love him. Yeah, he's a hero to them.
He's just been put in the Hall of Fame for teams racing, hasn't he?
He has, absolutely. I was just about to say that. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And when I've been there before, he's kind of not. He's almost like a cut above. He's driving it, probably because we race probably more. I don't know what the situation is, but when he's driving individually, he's well ahead. But like I say,
but Colin, do you think that could be similar to the sprint car scenario that you're getting from with Matt and Tom? The fact that Frank races so regular and quick, then the cars out there, although it's a lot more physical and violent, but they're not as quick, are they?
No, they're not.
Yeah, and I think if he races more, and a lot of those drivers, when you speak to them, they're only really interested in doing the teams racing. They're not really interested in the
individual,
the flat out individual stuff. They want to block. They want to take people out. So they're not racing as such as we do. We do a bit more racing as opposed to their driving around the pole line for about 10 laps to wait for somebody to take them out. And it takes a lot of getting used to when you see that happening. I saw Frank he was well ahead after the first 2 races.
In the 240s, the World 240s. He was going to win it, I think.
Yeah, and
he got taken out.
And some guy was just driving around the pole line, lap after lap. Frank passed him about 10 times, and on the last lap, this guy just put his foot down, turned right,
across the grass,
took Frank up the wall. And I thought that's not right. But that's how they race, and there was.
Naughty Carl Hawkins got banned, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. How did he get? How come he got banned for doing?
I don't know if it was something about going across the something line or whatever, or gone he'd gone the wrong way or something to try and turn around. It was something of nothing almost, but it's an automatic 22-day ban out there.
Their driver discipline is a lot better. If they come off the track, get forced onto the centre green, they've got to come back on the track at the same place they got forced off. There's no cutting the corner and getting knocked off on turn 1 and coming back halfway through turn 2. You got to come back on turn 1 again. The driver discipline is a lot.
Unless Frankie Wainman Jnr. is going past his half a lap ahead and doing 240 worlds. And then you do whatever you want then.
Poms can't win, for God's sake.
I know. Like you say that. Sorry, go on.
I don't know if you saw the Lions mascot fighting with one of their mascots.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Real, was it?
There's a video of it online, and the lion, the GB Lion, was your Stox promoter, Russell Andrews.
Was it Russell Andrews?
Yeah.
Was it him? He was out there. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
He's a big lad. You wouldn't want to mess with him, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, talking of that, because Hannah raced in the ladies with Phoebe, didn't she, in the ladies thing? And then Thomas Brighton, the V8 world champion, he was out there just holidaying, and he ended up getting a race, and he did really, really well. Very impressive, to be fair to him. So I think there's quite a lot out there, and I think they all had a bit of a ball. And then there's another thing in there with Charlie Sauder and the Dutch lad dancing on the middle after. So,
You mentioned Thomas getting a drive out there. That's the thing. When you go out there, they really do help you. They look after you. And if you turn up at a meeting and he said, "I'm a driver," somebody will get a car for him. I mean, I've been lucky enough. When I went out there, the Rotorua photographer Graham Hughes is a fantastic guy and really helped me out an awful lot when I went there. He said, "There's a few more meetings coming up. Do you want to stay?" I said, "I've got to go home. I can't afford to stay in the hotels." He kicked his lad out of his house and said, "Right, you've got his room. You're staying there for 2 weeks." And he meant it. He wouldn't let me go home.
Excellent.
Well, I know
that he's really look after you.
Yeah, Thomas got offered a car, and he was more than happy to drive it. But apparently it was a bit of a nail. And the guy who owned that car got another car as well. But after Thomas went out and went so well in it, he's like, "You got to go in my good car. You know, I want you to race my good car. I'll race the nail." But Thomas was too big to fit in it. But they're actually going, "No, we'll cut the roof off. We'll raise it." And, and he's like, "No, I'll just race this old tank. I don't mind." So, but he did brilliant.
Great.
So
that's good.
I tell you what, great. It sounds like it was a fantastic event out there for all of those that went over, and I mean, brilliant performance by our team, and just I know we have. Well. Yeah, it did. I know we have. There's discussions about whether it should be called Team GB or not. I know Ian is one of those who doesn't think it should be called that. I mean,
I don't have a problem with the Dutch guys racing at all.
No, I think they should.
It's just not Team GB, is it?
No. Well, the way I look at it, I support West Ham, and none of those players are from East London.
No, that's true. A very good point. Well, that's right. Most of them are from Britain, are they? That's the thing. So,
talking. Can we just, because I know a lot of fans have mentioned about the team selection and stuff, how teams the drivers are selected. I look on this two ways. One, it would be great to have a way of qualifying over here if you won this race or that race, or you got a fans vote. It would be nice to have a selection where everybody knows what's up front, who's going to go. Not everybody wants to go and race teams racing. Some of our drivers are not interested in that. Nobody can afford the time and the money to go and do it. But most importantly, the guys who are doing the teams racing and are racing in New Zealand have been out there for many, many years, building up relationships with drivers out there, building the trust up, like you're saying with Thomas there, that once the guy saw him drive, he knew he was a good driver, so put him in a bit better equipment. So these guys who put a lot of time and effort and over the years, they really do deserve to be in the team.
I think Frankie, when it was all kicking off, Frankie made a very good point and said, "Look, there are drivers you think could be brilliant teams racers, and they're not. And then you get other drivers, apparently, like Chris Cowley the other year, he was brilliant. But Frank said the beauty
Mick
of
Harris
this
apparently
team,
was 1 year, 2 years, he was good as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, but Frank said the beauty of the team this year was the fact that they'd been out there and they'd done it before. So it puts you on a better footing. You're not having to break somebody new in, so to speak.
No.
So, you can say, "Oh, well, it's closed shop or whatever." But no, if you want to win it, and I mean, Frankie's desperate to win it.
I know. So one championship he's never won. Yeah. Won everything else.
And so I fully understand him saying, "Look, I know that Ted can cover me back. I know that Tesla can do this and that. And he knows the guys that he's got. Now, you bring somebody new in, don't get me wrong, people have got to be given a chance, because otherwise it's always the same old drivers. But if you've got something that's working well, do you stick with it?
Yeah. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. I think now they've proven they've got a team that could potentially win it next year. Definitely challenge for it.
Well, I mean, apparently when it was wet on the was it the Saturday? It was wet, and they walked that first thing with the wet, It's a shame they rained it off, I think, in the end. I think, I think that would have helped.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, it's a hell of a storm. There's a picture. Don't you see the lightning strike one of the gantries?
Yeah.
Oh dear. That was a fair old storm. But what a place, Palmerston North, as a town, they got, Palmerston, where they put on such a great show as well. The cars go through the streets, don't they, into parade into the stadium.
It brings a lot of money into the town. The town love it. It does bring a lot of money in.
Yeah, well, it's one that I haven't done. There's a couple. Texel is one of them, which I'm going to do this year, and I'm seriously considering doing Holland next year. I think. Sorry, not Holland, New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
I was, I'd planned to do it and race out there many years ago when Graham Barr borrowed my car over here.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we were all saving up to do it, and I ended up breaking my back. So once I'd broken my back, I never had the confidence that I thought I would go out there and race. So I didn't want to go out just as a spectator. But now I'm an old fart. I don't mind going out as a spectator.
Exactly.
But no temptation to try and get a drive.
And 15,000 people in that stadium as well. And it's a fantastic facility by the look of it as well. That what an atmosphere that place.
I think that's one of the must see meetings. The Teams Champs is a must see because it's so different than it's stock car racing, but not as we know it, Jim. It's completely different to anything we're used to. But when there's a hit, the crowd just goes. It's like a football game. Cheering and roaring.
Things them all applauding, they love it.
It's a fantastic atmosphere. And
it's like banger racing on steroids, isn't it? Really,
it is. Banger racing with stock cars, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it takes a bit of getting used to, but it's a must see event, I think. And New Zealand is a fantastic country as well. I love it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done, lads. That's it for part one. I think we covered pretty much most issues have been since the end of last season through till this week. Anyway, we'll be back after this next break with the man himself, John Lund. So join us then. One lucky subscriber will win one of these John Lund limited edition prints. To enter the prize draw, all you have to do is pick an answer to the question on your screen and send it via Messenger on the Talking Stocks Facebook page. What year did John Lund win his first BriSCA F1 World Final? Was it A, 1988, B, 1986, C, 1985, or D, 1987? Closing date for entries is 12 noon on Saturday, February the 10th, 2024, and the winner will be announced later the same day. Correct answers will be put into a draw to pick out a winner. But please note, only subscribers to the Talking Stocks podcast are eligible to enter the prize draw. Good luck. Now back to the show and our very special guest, John Lund.
That picture's amazing you've done.
Are you pleased with it? You really like it? Oh, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. It was a labour of love. It was, John. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, to be honest. But well, the thing is, the way I saw it, it was that it's a landmark birthday for you. It's a landmark, one of the landmark years for the sport, and it coincided that you're both being 70. It seemed like a good idea. So, I thought let's just give it a go. The only trouble was, of course, I haven't actually done a drawing. I haven't picked up a pencil because I went to art school, you see. So before I became a journalist, I was an illustrator and an artist for a magazine and stuff. And so, but I sort of stopped doing that about 20 years ago, I suppose. And so I haven't really picked a pencil up in about 10, 15 years. So this is the first thing I've drawn since then. So I'm just pleased it actually came out all right.
It's brilliant, isn't it? I love it. It looks great.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm glad you like it, John, because actually it's one of, you got number 53 out of the 225 that are produced. So that's, I'm glad you got it in one piece as well, because I was worried about the delivery. The delivery might not work. That was the other thing. It could end up going to the wrong farm or something. That was what I was worried about.
We just need the frame for it.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, brilliant. So what are you, so I'm just going to ask then, I mean, you're, you can say you put it in, oh, Annette said you're going to put it in the barn conversion. So what's going on there? You're building a new bit of property or something?
Well, in 2006 we bought a farm at the other end of the village, or should I say the bank bought a farm. And
yeah, they own the farm, yeah, the bank, yeah.
And on the farm was 2 barns, which over the years we've been converting just when we can afford for somewhere to live. And because the farm where we live is rented, you see. So when I give up the tenancy here, obviously I need somewhere else to live.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We've only been on with 1 barn. Well, it took ages to get planning permission, but when we eventually did, and Dan and Amy, my daughter, and my future son-in-law, they live in part of it, and we're going to live in the other bit. That's the plan.
Brilliant. Right. So when do you think it'll all be ready then? Is it going to be ready this year, do you think? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty much ready now.
Excellent.
A bit getting to do, but I intend to carry on farming out the farm and just live in the house up there, really.
Yeah,
that's my plan.
How far away is it from the farm then? The actual house? Is it sort of close by?
Mile and a half, 2 miles.
Oh,
but
right,
we do have, besides, obviously we've got land up there and animals up there, so I go up every day anyway to look after them, sort of thing. So
yeah,
I'll just be going the opposite direction. We'll be coming down here to look after things rather than going up there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So how many? I mean, on the farm side of things, what you've still got your head of cattle, presumably milking herd. Is that right?
Got the same, roughly the same number of animals, but we've perhaps got more Aberdeen Angus now and less dairy animals. The Aberdeen Angus, they're a bit less beef. Work.
Yeah,
for beef.
Yeah. And what about crops? Are you doing much in the way of crops? Because you were always trying different things. When back in the day, when about 25 years ago, when I came to stay with you at the farm, you were testing out all sorts of different crops then, I remember. So I don't know what you're doing now.
We tried maize for a couple of years, but the climate here isn't really that suitable for maize. We don't get enough sunshine in summer. So we went on to wheat, which we still grow now, but harvest and feed to the cows rather than combining it for the grain. And the cows like it, and it's every year it grows a good crop, so
that's good then. That's quite clever, that, because I mean, I suppose sort of growing it for food, human consumption is probably, is it financially worth doing? Is it just, you find it's better to grow it just for the cattle, just because you're going to get healthy cattle as well out of it, and good for them.
Probably the same as maize a little bit. You do need a bit more sunshine to get it fully right for human, for bread, or if you're making bread with it. Whereas for the cows, it doesn't matter if it's not quite right. We ensile it and put an additive on, and the cows love it.
Yeah, so it's a bit like silage, really, isn't it? That sort of thing. Yeah. So you give it a treatment, and they stuff themselves on it. It's what you want. Right. So what we're going to do is talk about your 48 years in the sport, from year 1 to 48. No, I won't go that long. Don't worry. We'll be here all night if we do that. But so I could say you started in 1976 for your first year. I think it was. I'm trying to see. I wrote it down somewhere. Your first meeting was March. I think it was Rochdale, wasn't it? Your first meeting, was that right?
Yeah.
Do you remember much about it?
Yeah, I think I got a place in the consolation, I think.
Yeah, I think you got 7th, I think.
Yeah.
And so was it? I mean, when you decided to go into the sport, what made you want to get involved in the stock cars? Did you go and watch them quite a lot at the time, or what?
Well, Nelson at that time was going, which is local. It's we live near Pendle Hill, and it's just the other side of Pendle Hill is Nelson Stadium.
Yeah.
And one of my mates, he used to go over there with his tractor to tow the cars off, and I used to go over with him, sat on the tractor mudguard, and then we get into the pits as well, because he was going into the pits to tow the cars off. So that would be the early 70s, really. And, I got looking cars and watching the race and what have you. And I was more really into building a car than actually racing it at the time, because I like welding and fabricating. And although I'd done some fabricating on the farm, it was mostly using rusty pipe to make gates and stuff like that. Well, to buy some new box section and actually build a car, that was marvellous.
Yeah, I bet.
Hacksaw.
So, what did you base the car on as a design? Did you copy other people's, or was it just something you thought? Were you innovative even for your first car?
I just used to wander around the pits and see what everybody else was doing, and at that time, quite a lot of the chassis straights were 2 or 3 pieces of box section welded together to make one section, and I wanted to use. I think John Hillam and Alan Barker, they used just 1 piece of box section for each of the chassis straights, which I thought was good. But I did notice that it was, I think at that time, it was 4 inches by 4 inches. And where the supports for the nerfers went in and the bumpers, quite often it would cave in. So I thought, well, why don't we just use a bit smaller section, be less likely to cave in? So I started off using 3-inch, which was a bit different to most of the cars out there
and lighter.
At the time, but yeah, probably a bit lighter too. Yeah. Anyway, the car looks quite strong. It never bent.
Yeah, there it is. There you are. As behind me, you must have been about 22 when you started. Would you have been? Do you remember how old you were when you actually started racing?
I built it in 1975.
Oh, I started building it then the year before, yeah.
Prior to that, a lad who I went with on the tractor, he used to race the hell cars a bit,
right?
And he was going to have a stock car, so I was I'll help you build one, So I used to go down. He lived close by to his farm and help him build it. But then a lass used to come past on a horse, and he got a bit carried away with a stock car. So I thought, well, carry on my own, crack on my own, build one.
It was good though. I mean, the fact is, like you say, right from the get-go, you were getting places, and you're qualifying for finals, and eventually won your first final. I think was it the following year or the same year? I don't know. You might have trying to see with mine. I wrote it all down. I think the first final was I think it rocked. No, it might have been Nelson. No, the first win was Nelson. I think the first final win October that same year at Rochdale. So Rochdale seems to be quite a favourite stamping ground for you at the time.
Yeah, it was a fair track there. It was really bumpy. It was a high curve on the inside. There used to be like a lake down the back straight, and you could get down to bricks and half bricks in the corners, and that was quite a rough track. But it was good. I used to enjoy it. It was good racing there.
Yeah,
we all used to hang blankets over the windows of our buses or lorries, didn't we, John, when you were parked on the pit turn?
I had to do, yeah.
Yeah. You all three, you two. I mean, I'm the only one who hasn't raced. I think you two guys both raced as well. You did as well, didn't you, Colin?
Yeah, I raced there. I loved the place. I thought it was fantastic. Apart from the big bump coming out of turn 4, which put you in the fence. You hit the bump and bam, in the fence you went. I loved racing there. A big track, fast, bumpy, and you're out of control almost down the straight or wherever and that's what racing's about, I think.
Obviously a post and wire fence, and 1 or 2 of the stanchions towards the end of the straight near the pits gate, the concrete that they were around had got uprooted slightly, so if you got too close you hit one of those as well and pop your tires.
There's always a because it was so bumpy that the water used to just congregate in it, and you go through it and you get covered in crap and you couldn't see where you were going.
The curve, the inner curve was absolutely massive. It really was. I had Andy Stock put me through down at the Hornet's Nest end. He put me through the wires up to the roll cage there, and I had that big old Alex McDade car that was a bit of a tank, and you think you're flying. I was a yellow top, and I get a bang and sort of look, and I see him, and then get another bang. And then the third one, all of a sudden, I'm rattled in the wires and everything. And at the end of the race, Andy actually came across me. I mean, John will know he was quite quiet, was Andy. He never really said a lot, but he just said to me, Ian, I warned you twice. He said, if you would have seen what was in my mirror, you'll understand why I had to do it. Because apparently there was John and Bez and Frank and Doug and everybody
queuing up.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, sorry. No, you go.
Most of the time during my first year at Rochdale, I was at Blue, and you'd be, after a couple of laps, there'd be a big bang, and that'd be Gordon Smith. So Bez would follow him through, and then I'd just have to try and keep up with him after
that. Yeah, Gordon Smith being one of my personal favourites at the time. He was a hard driver, wasn't he? Yeah, Gordon was. My goodness.
He didn't mess around, did he?
No, definitely not. But the thing is, John, when you started, you were up against what was probably in that era. That some of the golden years of the top drivers. You had, like I said, Smithy. Stuart Smith. You had Len Wolfenden. You had Mike Close, Gordon Smith, Doug Cronshaw,
Willie,
Bez, Willie Harrison, John Hillam, Closey, as I mentioned him already. Yeah, all these guys. I mean, and it was it must have been quite a baptism of fire for you. Did you feel like that at the time, or did you just sort of just get on with it?
It was hard racing. I used to get loads of damage. I think I've 13 consecutive meetings when I came back with front axle totally wrecked, really. 13 consecutive meetings, I think I went.
Really?
But, you get the hang of it eventually.
Yeah. The thing is, one of the drivers, though, he wasn't so much of a hard hitter, but I remember you telling me when we spoke all those years ago when I was doing the book Sound and the Fury, the first one, wrote it 25 years ago. Good. Time does fly by, doesn't it? I don't know. And you talked about Doug Cronshaw and how you didn't always know it was you were getting moved out of the way, but you didn't almost sort of notice it because he did it so he timed his moves so well. It was a different type of driver, really.
No, you'd just be going into the corner and suddenly you'd just speed up a little bit, and next minute, which was it, Doug pushing you, and next minute he's round out inside of you and gone.
Yeah,
he was a good driver. Yeah,
particularly Nelson. Because it's one of his places, wasn't it, Nelson? Sorry, go on, Colin.
So that's pretty true, because you can't think of many times Doug actually buried somebody in the fence. He raced hard but fair, but he never actually really forced people into the fence. He was, I've not thought of it that way before, but now you mention it, he kind of nudged you out of the way and carried on.
His car is always quite light, his car, and he'd only a Pontiac engine, so he's probably down on compared to a lot at that time. But a light car, and he just used to such a good driver,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's about the thing with him as well. I suppose it's a way of that you're spending less time moving someone out of the way. You're trying to go forward. That's what you're trying to do. You don't want to get held up by anybody, so you just want to move them. You don't want to end up burying him in the fence, because that wastes time for you as well, doesn't it? So he's being efficient. His car building was efficient, and his driving was efficient, and he was mega quick as well.
You can pass a driver and just leave him behind you for your competitors to have to pass. I think that's the best. That's the best way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what old Frankie used to always say. Because everybody used to give Frank a load of stick about not using the bump, not putting people in, and he always used to say the same as Closey. If you can pass a car clean and leave it there, it's one more for your competitors to pass. If you wipe it out, then your competitors got a clean run at you, haven't they?
Yeah, you've done all the work for them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you're saying. I mean, I'm just saying. Sorry to go back to 1976. We've got all these other years to go through, but I was just saying. That year was Harold Wilson resigned as Prime Minister in 1976. You had Jimmy Carter became president. The Ford Fiesta was launched. Do you remember? The Mark IV Cortina, another one that came out in 1976.
And the Sex Pistols were in the charts.
That was in December. That was that was in December. With Anarchy in the UK, and Brotherhood of Man won Eurovision Song Contest. That was the other one.
Who won the world final?
Well, 76. I was there. I was there that year. Stuart Bamford won it.
Oh, Bammy, yeah.
White City.
It's in fire engines to cart water from the reservoir above Rochdale. Them fire engines.
Is that lucky? Yeah, because also the other thing, because that heat wave, didn't we? Hottest temperature, 96.6 degrees it got in Southampton in I think it was July 1976. So the big heat wave. Yeah. Oh, the other thing, just say, British Leyland brought out the Rover SD1, which had a 3.5 V8 Chrysler engine. Would that be the engine they use in hot stocks?
It is.
Would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's what I've got in that road legal one of mine, a brand new.
Oh, is that right? Oh, right.
Yeah.
There you go. So there you go. Yeah. You go full circle. So 1976 was an epic year all round, basically. Yeah. So do you remember at White City actually? Did you race that night at the one that Bammy won? Were you there for that? Would you remember?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I think I was taking part. I remember watching the anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Did it rain that one, or was it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I can't remember too much about it.
And Smithy and Doug Cronshaw neither qualified for it, and Smithy was in the Derek Coleman car, I think. That's right, and because he borrowed that. And he did well, and I think he won a race, I think, and finished in the top 3 in the final in it. Something like that, if I recall.
I bet Mike Parker loved that. Smithy and Cronshaw not qualifying. Like ticket sales are going down.
Well, did you like what? I mean, because you tend to race on, I suppose, on Shale more, like at Nelson and at Rochdale and Bellevue and all those sort of tracks back then. I mean, what did you prefer it to tarmac, or you weren't worried either way? Did you like both surfaces?
Tarmac as well. It was a lot of work. So quite often we'd race at Nelson, and then it'd be Aycliffe the next day. At that time, we were still on drum brakes. Nelson was always really mucky, so you had to wash car, clean your brakes out, and then get up to Aycliffe and milk the cows in between. So,
yeah. You got that on full-time job.
Just many Aycliffes, or Hartlepool.
Yeah, and then White City
was a rough old track, though, wasn't it?
Aycliffe was bumpy, wasn't it? Bumpy. They're all bumpy those days, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, Aycliffe was good.
Was that, well, I mean, if you had to pick a track that you liked out of all of them at that time, which one would you say was the track you really liked going to and got the best performances at? Where did you enjoy racing the most, if you had one?
Without a doubt, was the one which you really look forward to going to most. But probably the track I had more success at would be Aycliffe, really.
Right. So Bellevue you'd like to go to most, but Aycliffe was your most successful one.
Yeah, but perhaps not in my early days, but once I got going with it.
Yeah.
The thing is, back then, Bellevue, I was a kid then, John. Bellevue was special because you got the likes of Percy and Brian Powell's and the drivers that us lot in the north never saw.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like John, it was racing different people as well, wasn't it, John?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant, really. The stands, because it was in the days before silencers as well, and the noise, the stand would vibrate when the cars passed. I thought it was an amazing place, really. It was big. I thought a big loss to the north when that fought.
Yeah, definitely was. It's interesting because for me, being from the south, it was the other way around. I was going to Brayfield when you have the likes of yourself and Closey and Gordon and Doug Cronshaw or whatever come down south, because we'd never see the likes of you or those guys racing. Because I looked at your sort of past record, and of course you were predominantly back in those days raced most of the time in the north, but then suddenly you went to Brands Hatch out of the blue. You went there. What made you decide to go to Brands Hatch? Just for something different to go to? What was the draw? Just because it was Brands Hatch?
Colin Townsend another local lad, he sponsored me a bit, and he was also racing at that time, and we just decided we'd go down together, you know, as you know, a fair team of us all went down, you know. I had a bus at that time, and he had an old truck, you know. We just went down in convoy. I think, it may have been Long Eaton the night before, was it?
Yeah, it would have been, I think. Yeah, it might have been, I think. Yeah. So it's a fair old trek down there, though, because, I mean, not so many motorways then, were there, particularly. No M25.
Yeah, well, I ended up driving Colin's wagon back, which was they call it a Leyland Laird, and I think about 50 mile an hour was its top speed, so it was a steady job.
Oh my God, yeah, that must have been a long old job there. Particularly as you've got to get back, because those cows don't want to wait to be milked, do they? So then, you know, you've got to get back. So would you presumably by the time you get home, could be God knows what time of night, you wouldn't have much sleep before you had to get up the next morning.
Quite often it was a case of get changed into my working clothes, have a brew, and then go and start work. So it's been quite tough.
Yeah. I don't know how you
but
do
I was
it,
lucky with somebody else driving the, you know,
Yeah.
the transport. Sleep quite a lot on the way home. So
yeah, it's vital.
On the way there, by all accounts, is what I heard, John. You're about 10 minutes from home, and you were always fast asleep.
that was right.
I tell you what, I think Smithy used to have a bit of problem with falling asleep at the wheel as well. He's another one, wasn't he? Stuart Smith. I think Doug
Well, he had
Cronshaw
Big Dave in the end, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Doug Cronshaw, when they used to drive each other, they used to go together back in the in the 60s. In the end, Doug decided he was going to do the driving because he couldn't risk Stuart falling asleep, even though he probably didn't even have a license to drive at the time, but he still drove the blooming thing.
Your style of car became very, very popular in the sort of mid-80s, etc. After you went from the square one to the, you know, the 6-post roll cage thing came out.
Yeah.
I know Dave Seed built quite a few of them, but was it your design to go that way, or was it a combination?
No, it was my design, and then one or two lads wanted a car like mine, but I just hadn't time to do it. But David, you know, he sort of just copied my car, you know. But you know, I said, if you want one, David will make it for you, and just copy it, you know, which he did really, yeah.
Yeah, because they became quite an iconic shape, really, sort of mid-80s, didn't it? You know, there was a few of them when Dave was producing them, and then Paul Harrison had some, you know, Pete Halls and that. There was a few of them about.
Yeah, surprising, and there's still a few going as well.
Yeah.
Well, there is now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, always. Yeah, but sorry, go on.
I think there's more John Lund heritage cars about.
Yeah, they are. They're everywhere. But look, the 1987-88 one, that's just that they reproduced, does look fantastic though. You've seen that, haven't you, John?
Brilliant job of them, aren't they? Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, aren't they? They just look stunning. Look better than they did then.
John, what's your favourite car you've built? What's the favourite one you built?
I think that gold car, actually, the one that people have christened the gold car anyway. Because I built that car, and I don't think I won a world final in it. And then I sold it to Lisa Harter, and she raced it for a year. And the replacement I built for that car, she then traded the old one back in for it. So I ended up with the car back again. And then some lads from New Zealand came over, and they had an engine for it and everything. Anyway, they built it up and raced it in the world final at Bradford. And then I started racing it again. And subsequently, I won three gold tops with it. And it's just such a good car, you know. Yeah.
That was extraordinary car. Yeah. You just went through you had that real purple patch, didn't you? In the 80s, particularly, you know, with because you went from you went, like I say, you got third in the world final in 1980, which is but then after that, you're on the pole, weren't you, for the race again at Coventry, but you didn't. I don't think you finished. Got a flat tire, I think, didn't you?
That's a frustrating race, that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet it was.
I managed, like Wolfie was in it, and I managed to get him one. And I think I was second behind Smithy, and then they brought the caution out, and we did a few laps under caution, and then Bert was third behind me, and then we were getting up to the flagman, and Smithy went past the flagman. No, he didn't drop the flag. So you're all keyed up, ready to go. I was going to have Smithy that first corner, get another lap, and then they dropped the flag more or less on Bert's aerofoil. So the front three, me, Stuart and Bert, never even saw it. And I think Danny Clark at the back comes zooming down the inside. Anyway, Smithy ended up winning it in the end, and I got a flat tyre towards the end, I think.
Yeah, you were in the place, I think, still then as well. I think I remember you talking about that. It was it was a total chaos, wasn't it, that start of that race? I mean, they just, will not start, when they brought the flags out. I mean, it's just, it's crackers really. But frustrating for you. But but then you got it all right. A few years later, 87 for at Bellevue. Just
I think I spent.
It went well that day, didn't it? It went perfectly.
During the 80s, I think. I couldn't, I wasn't well off by any means, so I had to watch what I was spending, and couldn't afford too many tyres or anything like that. So I was more just learning, I think, really, and not taking too many chances, trying not to do too much damage. And I think towards the end of 86 or during 86, my engine was about knackered. It was an LS6, and it used oil plugs up because the bores were that worn, so you had to change at least one plug before the meeting, or else it'd be missing. And we had a dash for the cash at Bellevue, which I remember really well. And I put a new plug in, number 7 it was that you know. And the track was dry, my engine was just gutless, so I'll need to keep it revving, so I put more or less ball tyres on. Anyway, I managed to win it, so that really was a big confidence boost, for the following year. So I think that was at the end of the season. And then I think the next meeting after this dash of the cash race was at Coventry. And the engine let go. I can't remember what went wrong. It wasn't too serious, but anyway, meant I had to get rebuilt. So the dash for the cash money went direct to Michael Dart, more or less, plus quite a bit more. So for 1987, I had a lot better engine, more competitive, really. So that was in good stead for the Bellevue World Final that year.
Yeah, and he won it. It was still one of your sort of more straightforward races, really. In the end, wasn't it? It all went like clockwork, if you recall.
Should have been sat where I was.
I make it sound like it was a breeze in the park, but clearly, around Bellevue, you're trying to win your first World Final. It's not going to be that straightforward.
I got hooked up with Nigel Hardy at one point, about halfway through, and that could have ended in tears. But anyway, we managed to unhook down the straight without any mishap. So it was pretty lucky, really.
Yeah, Nigel Hardy was always a bit of an awkward one to pass, wasn't he? Shall we say?
Yeah, hard to pass. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, we get to 1988, where prior to the World Final, there was a particular semi-final that you two guys were both in, which I'm sure you remember very well. I was there. I think, Colin, we were all there. I'm sure you were there as well, Colin, I'm sure. Yeah, and that was all due to the reason behind what happened was all due to one other driver whose name is Richard Pratt, I do believe.
I think it was 2 actually when you watched. There was Jane Bean as well. I don't think John was too keen to go past either.
She was a rascal.
Because you were about half a lap ahead at one stage. You were well clear, but then you came up behind these two, and you just didn't want to go past, did you? Really, it was just because you knew what might happen.
Yeah, I wanted to finish. I didn't want to end up in a heap anyway. So. But Ian was braver than me.
Yeah, well, he took his opportunity, didn't he? Yeah, well, you took the opportunity. Yeah, because Bez was also in that race, and he got tangled up early on, and he came through late on because he was always quick around there. But yeah, I mean, do you remember much about the racing? You saw that you could see that John was slowing up in front.
Yeah, the main thing that I remember, I half spun on the first lap. There was only myself and Rod Falding put Hoosiers on because everybody else said they'd be no good. You know, the curbs, the track was too aggressive, it would puncture them, etc. But I ran the G Dirt Stockers on the back inside. It was me and Rod came in as first reserve, and he came through the pack well. But for me, I just remember thinking, I'm going to get second here. I'm going to get second in a semi-final because, like, you know, I was just average but crashed a lot. And I'm thinking, if I can get a second behind John, that's absolutely fantastic. And then he was like coming back to me, and I thought, what's going on? Then I looked in front of him, and there was Jane and there was Pratty, and we went down the back straight for the last time. And I won't say I closed my eyes, but I thought, well, I've got one chance here, and I just went wailing in, and Bez came wailing in with me, and you know, I was fortunate I came out the front of it. Yeah. There was no tactical driving. It was just, we're going in here. Yeah.
But when we got to Hednesford here, and you borrowed my car,
yeah,
you got a hell of a start. Why did you not win? What went wrong?
What went wrong, John, was just because one of your lads took me round on the parade lap. Yeah. So I'd not even sat in the car. Then just as I'm getting in it, he comes running across and took the mirror out because you'd cracked yours getting in your car.
Oh, right.
So I'm sat there in your car that I've never driven with your steering wheel was miles away because you're obviously longer than me in the arm. And so I'm sat there with no mirror, and I thought, I'm just going to have to jump this start. And that's what I did, John. I just jumped it, and I went into the first corner with my shoulders waiting for it, and then it never came. And then obviously started going. Yourself and Peter and Bezzy were having that fantastic battle. And there was one point where you just put Peter in, and he bounced out, and the pair of you come past me. You got rid of Bez already. And the pair of you come past me down the back straight. I think it was about 7 laps in. And I remember thinking, I can do them both here. And then I thought, I've got no mirror. I don't know when it's coming back. So, you know, I was gutted that I didn't get third, that Tulsa just picked me on the line. But
was it on the last lap he got it, did he?
It was John won it. Was Chris second, I think?
Chris Elwell. Chris Elwell.
It was either John was second and Chris was third. Elwell, you know, I'm not sure which, but I know that I ended up fourth, and I was absolutely gutted.
Chris Elwell was third. Yeah, I know you were fourth. But what I wanted to ask is, how did that come about? How did you, John, did you end up lending Ian one of your cars?
Well, the previous night was probably Coventry, I'm not sure, and I'd raced that car at Coventry, so I ended up with too far to come home. So we'd stayed out overnight. We could have stayed at Clive Linton's, I'm not sure. So we turned up at Hednesford with a car on the trail and one in the bus, you know. And Ian needed I can't remember why what's happened to Ian's car, but that's all right. It's there, just use it, right?
Yeah, I'd wrecked mine the week before was a Sheffield, and just past the pit gate, I'd ripped the back axle out and come to a sudden stop and all sorts. So we'd shoveled it back in. All week we'd repainted it and that, because obviously I knew I was going to be on pole for the world final. So I wanted the car to look nice. Got Brian Evans booked in and everything. Loaded it up, no problem. Got to the track, unloaded it, fired it up, and it sheared the magneto drive. And the magneto had actually bent because we didn't used to run a bracket on it at the top. So when I hit the fence at Sheffield, it had bent. So there was yourself that had your car, and Frankie Wainman he'd just built a new car, and he offered me his car. But you know, obviously you were the man at the time, and I thought, well, the chance to race one of John's cars, you're not going to give it up, are you? And then I put my wheels. I remember I put my wheels and tyres on it and everything. Anyway, we did it. We did the race and everything. You won, which was brilliant. And then we come over afterwards. Because did you run a Hoosier back outside, John, or did you run one of them recaps?
I set off with 2 Hoosiers on the back, an F on the inside and an H on the outside. And Ian Burgess, Bodge, who I think he might have been helping. I don't know if I was still helping Leonard at that time, or it might have been Andy Smith. So hey, I think if inside tyres going down, and they did look really soft. And this was just as we were going out. So we put the outside back on the inside and a recap, 800 recap on the outside. And that's what
Well, I'd run the 890 recap, and you actually said to me afterwards, you said, I never thought of telling you about that because for some reason or something, you got the little diff in.
Yeah, it's that little diff in, yeah.
Yeah, so if I'd have tried putting the HUs on the back outside, I might have been paying Mr. Ruddart a lot of money. Yeah. But no, it was really appreciated. I mean, at that time, you and me weren't particularly getting on or anything, and it was just, it was a brilliant gesture, and it was a simple thing. If I broke anything, I paid for it, and if I won anything, you got it, and it was brilliant, and in a way, it sort of put me in the history books. So I'm more than happy. And that picture that Neil just put up, that's become a bit of an iconic picture.
Yeah, it is. It's Mike Green's picture. Yeah, Mike Green's picture. I think he took it. Yeah. It was a great weekend that, because I think it was a 2-day meeting, wasn't it? It was a Hednesford. I think Bez won both meeting finals that weekend. I think that's right. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I know I couldn't go on the Saturday because we were still working on the car, and I missed the Grand Parade on the Sunday. They all went round on the back of a flatback wagon, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
You look at the picture, I'm not on it because I was still in the pits trying to work on my car and get my big hands on.
Yeah, that was an iconic picture that you with the big hands. What made you decide to do all that? Just because you could?
Just because the only other world final I've been in was up at Odsall, and it was my first one. And my mum sewed a load of sequins on my overalls, and I mean I was way down the grid. But then, as I came out onto track for the world final, I think I got the second biggest cheer to Smithy because all the overalls just sparkled, and I won the Bradford Odsall Stock Car Supporters Personality of the Year for doing it and everything. So from then on, it was a case of I'm a little bit of an extrovert when it comes to things. So we just did the Kenny Everett hands. I was working all week bending my car. My dad and my brother were all week paper mashing and chicken wire in a pair of hands.
Oh, fantastic! But you remember that weekend? I imagine, Colin, you were there. Were you a photographer then?
I wasn't there. Probably that sort of time. I was taking my nephews to the.
That's right.
And they were kind of 8 and 9 years old, and and because my nephews, I remember John, the big John fans, and would be in the office sometimes when they phone up. John Fan's on the phone. Those were great days, weren't they?
Yeah,
and
they were fantastic.
John lending Ian the car is just typical of stock car racing, isn't it? You can be the biggest rivals on track, but you help each other out, and that's the great thing about this sport.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're stuck to something, like anything, really, steering box, a gearbox, whatever, somebody will lend you, no problem,
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's just great. And it's still like that now, really. I think there's still people, although stuff's a bit more expensive nowadays, they probably, you're not going to borrow a Ryan Harrison sort of gearbox or whatever, it probably won't fit in your car, so that purple patch, John, it was, you. And the thing is, by then, because you've been a regular, star driver from, 1977, 78 through to then. But now you were like the superstar. You were like the man everybody wanted to beat. And you were presumably aware that was the case once you suddenly, because that 88 year, you pretty much won everything. Won the British, you won the European, national. No, you won 3 of the 4 titles. I think it was the European you didn't win. I think it won. But so you had the target on your back, and presumably you knew that anyway, didn't you? With people like Pratty after you all the time.
I think it's a case of really at that time, the more you raced, you got to know the other drivers better, and you just got better at it because practice really. And then if you missed a few meetings, you got a bit rusty, So, but we did race, like 80 meetings a year, sort of thing, around that time.
Yeah, for a long time, 80 meetings out, couldn't do that now. But so then after, so you'd like to say you won eight world finals. I just I have to remember all of them, so many of them. But I mean, there was you got the two. You got obviously you missed a couple. I mean, I think Peter put you in the fence at Coventry. I remember one year, '93, the year he won it. I think because he was like a major rival of yours, wasn't he, at the time? Because he was trying to get the national. He was after national points a lot as well. He wanted the title. You two were at it most weekends, weren't you? Really?
Oh, it's some good races together. Really good. Yeah.
Would you say he was like, if you had to name sort of your? I mean, you have had some incredible rivals over the years. You've got, Andy and Frank and Peter. So who would you? Is there one you would say gave you the most? Was the highest rival you fought against?
When I was being more successful, I think Peter definitely would be the biggest rival at that time for me. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that there was one particular year. I think you won the points. I think it must have been 89, 88. I can't remember what year it was, but it went down to the last meeting at Hednesford in the snow, because I remember being there and I was frozen solid. I remember miserable afternoon, but you actually ended up winning the points championship on the last day, which I think was the first time that happened since Stuart Smith did the same to Frankie Wainman Jnr. back in.
The story behind that, Neil, is Barber put up some extra money, and him and Peter agreed no matter who won, they were going to split it.
Is that right?
Is that right, John?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that? I had no idea about that. Oh, that? Oh, crikey! Right. Oh, yeah. I see. All right. So, well, there you go. So it's a bit of a team effort then between the two of you.
Team effort. Yeah.
So what about
some rivals on track? Wasn't it, John? It's rivals on track, but off track. You got on great with Peter and that. We used to come up to your Dooms and Bezzies do and all that lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some good times with Peter. I regard him as a mate. We've always been mates, really, I think, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good lad. Yeah, he's good. What about, I mean, obviously Frank was that got a little bit more serious, didn't it, really? I think the rivalry with Frank, there's some famous or infamous episodes with world finals and in New Zealand.
Yeah, only really, when we're battling to try and win, I think, really.
Yeah.
In the pits, it'd be the same thing. If he want, I'd lend him something, he'd lend me something, and yeah, we never got to blows or all that.
No, obviously not. No, but I think what it was more the fans and I think there was like it was quite they used to get outraged by certain things, didn't they?
Yeah, I think the fans used to get a bit wound up.
Yeah, they did. But out of all the world finals you won, is there one that stands out the most? Would you say out of all of them?
Well, that's obviously the first one at Bellevue.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant race. The one following at Hednesford, the first 10 laps or so was a right battle,
Yeah, it was.
And then 91.
Oh yeah, come to 91.
91 when Bert was leading and Peter took him out and
Pratty took him all out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, going into that last lap, did you have any idea? Did you think? Did you expect something like
third?
Really? You just.
I got to about half. I was sort of up with them for the first half, and then I got my tyres a bit warm, I think, and that was it. And I was just sort of managing to keep my distance, and that was about it, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's another iconic picture, the one that Barber did of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was that painting was that was.
Oh yeah, it wasn't Barber, was it? No. Sorry, but yeah, I've got a copy
of that in my bar.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic picture. Michael Turner, that's who it was.
Yeah,
Michael Turner painting. Yeah, fantastic that.
Would you
say,
so
that was. Go on, sorry, Colin.
I was just saying, John, would you say Hednesford's one of your favourite tracks as well? Because you've had a.
I did used to enjoy Hednesford. Yeah, it was a track which the harder you drove, the faster you could go. You know, the more you could use the track, the quicker you could go, really.
So I remember probably the year of the foot and mouth where you won a final where you're about on the last bend from Nick Smith. That was one of the most incredible last benders I've ever seen.
And that was my shell car as well.
Was it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You must be a good 10 car lengths behind him on that last bend, and he had no idea it was coming.
No.
Because that wouldn't be, that's not something you would do. You were never one for like total launches like that. But you know, but that was halfway down the straights. I don't remember.
You're thinking of somebody else, Neil.
There's been somebody who hasn't driven a race car.
Yeah, I might have to edit this bit out. I'll pause that bit and say, right, that bit I didn't say. Right, there you go. Yeah, so knows nothing. You know, so yeah.
No, to be fair, John was usually pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, we all said that about him, but because you know he's trying to win, and he'll admit himself the time that he lost his rag sort of thing when he was battling with Frank and Stuart and whatever at Stoke, was it, John, that you were fighting for the points and you sort of lost it a bit.
Yeah, I should have just kept my cool. I'd have been all right then, but no.
So what happened there then, John? Do you remember what was happening then? You put one of them in and got yourself stuck in as well?
Yeah, I think Frank had probably done me in the heat, so I got him back in the final. But it allowed, I think, probably Andrew perhaps won. I don't know.
Yeah, Andrew came through, didn't he?
Yeah, because he ended up winning, took the points title that year, didn't he? So yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just and then talking about incidents, I just found this one. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I'll get out of the way. Hang on a sec. I'm always in the way of the pictures. Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
I'm in the wrong way. Oh, come on. Let's go with the side better. There you go. Paul Tully, infamous commentary picture.
I remember that. That was a bit to do with Neil Briggs as well, I think, actually. I think Frank had an inside back flat tyre coming out of the bend prior to the start finish. So he was sort of going onto the infield, and then Neil Briggs was there, and Frank ended up coming back onto the track, but because his inside back tyre was flat, it went sideways the wrong way facing the fence, and I was right behind him, so I couldn't miss him, you know, went straight over the top.
See, it looked hairy. That was it's a bad old shunt. But yeah, I mean, he didn't get involved. I mean, I'm going to say that something else is going to be stupid. I expect now. So brace yourself. But you didn't get, in that particular time. You know, we talked about this year. You didn't get into many mega scrapes like that all the time, did you? You managed to. You didn't get written off much, you know, in that particular period, that 90s time.
I got a lucky run, I think, really.
Yeah, well, I'm saying lucky, but you make
that. I must say back then, because I was always started at the back. You could probably, for the first few laps, you could pick your way through, if you know what I mean. And then towards the end, sort of set your car up for the end of the race more so. And then hopefully pick off whoever was left in front of you at the end, you know. That seemed to be a good policy at the time. Doesn't seem to work nowadays, but
yeah. I think there's a lot of faster sort of low graders now, isn't there, John? With better kit. Yeah.
That's a problem, isn't it? Can't catch them now, can you? That's a problem.
With that picture, Neil, if you watch the video of that incident, the laugh is that obviously John lands, Frankie's aerofoils over the fence and everything. John lands, pulls onto the infield, and you just see him undo his belts, lean out, look at his back wheel, back in, ready to go. no stress, no drama. Yeah.
I was going to say, actually, John, did you ever get racing at any stage? Did you ever get nervous at all?
Nervous?
Or anything like that? Yeah. Yeah, before a race, like a world final or anything like that?
Especially, I mean, you're there, you're in your car, you're just got to do your best, you know, and take what comes, really.
Yeah.
You know, particularly.
I think that's
probably helps
as
in
a
big
man.
races.
Yeah, having that sort of calm attitude.
Some drivers do get over nervous and
revved up,
try too hard, and so just kind of treating it as another race, I guess, is probably the way to do it.
So what about now then? You've had some extraordinary results. I mean, you got into the world final after the semi-consolation at Sheffield a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, which was fantastic. And then you won a final, was it in 2022? Broke the record for the, dare I say, I know you don't like being reminded of your age, but the oldest driver to win a final. Sorry, mate. But I mean, you must be really pleased with how well you've been driving, particularly last 2 or 3 years. It's gone very well, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, just about keep up with everybody, but they're also quick now. Yeah, well, I still enjoy it, definitely still enjoy it. Not so much perhaps the travelling. There's a lot more travelling now because all the tracks which used to be local to me have all closed. So it's a long way to everywhere, really.
Yeah, I mean,
so much longer. You have to be there sooner. At the meeting a lot. So it's more time there rather than just setting off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. You have to set off 10:30 in the morning, and that sort of thing. So it's all time, isn't it? Finding time to do it, really.
I think that is the issue, isn't it, with this, the sport in the modern day now, is the fact, like we just said, the tracks, all the good tracks from from in the north in particular have all gone. Your Bellevues and your Nelsons, your Rochdales, and all the rest of them. You've still got Bradford, which is fantastic, and we've still got got Sheffield, but maybe less at Sheffield than we've had in the past. So. Yeah, and like you say, you start earlier now. We have these early starts, but on Sundays we start much earlier, and Saturdays, some tracks start at 5 o'clock. It's too early.
Well, the shale tracks, are probably a bit different every time, so you can't really just go and practice as much. Whereas on tarmac, a lot of lads now they'll go and spend a day setting the car up and practicing and get there in good time on and put some laps in, and I just haven't time to do all that,
No, exactly. So we're
talking of tarmac then, John.
Yes.
Is the tarmac car ever going to make a reappearance?
It's moved.
No.
It's moved to the one part of the workshop where it was just like a big shelf, really, into the bit where the welder is. So you never know.
Would you seriously think? Would it make a comeback though? If you qualified for a world final on tarmac, say this year, if you qualify for Skeggy, would you consider bringing it back out or not?
Be good, but I can't really see it happening. Really.
Really?
Yeah, time, isn't it? Time.
Yeah, that's always the problem, isn't it? I think it's like I say, it's an issue for everyone at the time. Like I say, for fans and drivers alike, getting to venues, getting all that stuff.
It's not just that, Neil. His team, John's 70, all his team have aged with him, so they're not young lads anymore.
No, that's true, isn't it? I mean, Pete's still helping you out, I'm sure, now and again, isn't he? And and he's not a youngster anymore. Look at us. We're not either. We're all getting older, aren't we? That's the trouble. But, I know. But so this year, then, what's the plan for this year? Just as before, you carry on as before.
Yeah, just carry on. I'd like to do a King's Lynn or two if I can. It's a long way, but I like the track when you get there. Sheffield, obviously, if I can get. But there's only 2, I think, this year. Is the 2 Sheffields?
Yeah.
Is that right? Only 2? Right,
yeah.
Of course,
The greyhound rating's all changed, so it's knackered them up a bit.
Yeah, because they're racing on Sundays, aren't they? So,
I do know you've got a big fan base in Holland, John. They'd love to see you out there again.
Yeah. That Barlow was a hell of a track there.
Yeah.
Oh, you enjoy racing, Bob? You won there. You won the long track at Barlow, didn't you?
Yeah. It's quite an experience.
Yeah, I bet it is. What about Venray? Have you been to Venray? Not the latest one or not?
No, I don't think I've been to Venray. I did go. I've been to Barlow and another track. I can't remember where it was.
Ghent, was it? We did.
Being Ghent, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But Barlow cost. You reckon Barlow cost you the world final at Finn won, didn't you? Because didn't you damage your engine out there, John?
Yeah. Well, I think it was probably fuel as much as anything.
Right.
Like over here, your engine's revving, but only for a shorter period. And I think at Barlow, because the straights are so much longer, the engine was revving a bit longer, and it must not have been getting enough fuel, so it leaned out and damaged the pistons, which allowed lack of compression, you know. But I didn't realise that at Barlow, and the next meeting I raced that car, it was the world final at Bradford.
Yeah.
And it was good at the start, really good. I got away, and then as the track dried, I just no power.
Yeah.
What it was piston damage from Barlow.
Was that right? Oh, right, okay. Yeah, because I remember that race, because there was, again, that was Bez was involved with that, wasn't it? It was Finn, you and Bez battling for the title.
Yeah.
I think Finn put you in the fence, I think, to move you out of the way. Yeah, it's a shame that. But well, not for him, obviously. But yeah, so so basically, you're going to carry on racing until you decide you don't want to. I mean, I can't ever see that happening. To be honest, you'll race until you'd be into your 80s. There's no reason why not. I don't say. The thing is, because you're still producing the results, aren't you? You're getting, you're qualifying for finals. You're still in with a chance of winning finals. Particularly at Bradford. I know you like Bradford as well as a track, don't you? Do you like it in its current way? The track is. I mean, compared to what it was like before.
It's taken a little bit to get used to. Initially, when we first started going back there, all this. I don't remember it being this narrow down the straights, but yeah, it's probably now it's got a bit rough. It's quite rough as well. It always used to be rough. I think you look back, perhaps with it's always been rough.
Yeah, rose-tinted glasses. You look at it back from the past.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of Rochdale, to be honest.
It does now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, I think so.
It is bumpy in comparison to tracks we've got now, but that adds to the character. Stock car racing is not supposed to be about everything perfect. I think it adds to it.
That's what tarmac's for.
Yeah.
The perfect laps is tarmac. The shale, like John said, also, it does annoy me a little bit when people harp on, Kings Lynn's brilliant. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
But also, it used to be as rough as houses. When you watch some of the videos there, our wheels were off the floor just as much as they were at Rochdale. But that's why I personally love Rochdale. I love Crewe. I love Stoke because
Nelson.
It's not all about. Yeah, it's not all about this fast track. If you want to do that, go race tarmac.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. Yeah, do you agree with that, presumably, John?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's a great leveler. That's the thing. If you've got a bumpy track, it means that it's more of a test for a driver as well, isn't it? That's the thing.
Your car, to getting the car set up just right, so it'll ride the bumps, and handle them.
Doug Cronshaw fashion. Didn't he used to loosen up the shock absorbers on the back so they wouldn't bounce so much or something. Something like that, if I recall. Yeah, well, look, John, I'll tell you what, thank you so much for joining us. So, like you see, I've got the print in the background there. I'm going to give a prize giveaway. I'm going to ask, after we've finished, I'm going to ask only subscribers to the podcast if they want to win a free John Lund limited edition print, they can go to the prize draw. And if they get the answer and you get drawn out of a hat, they will win a print. So if not, you can still buy them on factoruk.com, one of the 225 we produced of John. And so I'll tell you what, absolute massive respect to you, John, for coming on. I really appreciate you spending the time with us because Yeah, you're a legend in the sport. You're the most popular driver in the sport, much loved, and it's really appreciated.
Oh, well, thank you. But I mean, the sport's, it's been brilliant for me. Absolutely brilliant. My life's revolved around it, really. So, I wouldn't have missed it.
Well, I tell you what, I was a big fan when you first started, even though I was from the south, and when you come down to Coventry and places like that, it was just a thrill to see you racing. And the stories you come up with tonight have been absolutely fantastic. So I really loved it. Really loved it.
Yeah. Good. I enjoyed racing against you, John. Had some good battles, whatever. But the thing that sticks in my mind, and we were talking to it about it before you came on, was it just shows what you mean, what the sport thinks of you. When we did that little prank at Odsal with your gold car for the World Finals, that round of applause that you got there was just unbelievable. And I think that just shows what people think.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. That I think you were quite, more than touched by it, weren't you? Really, if I recall.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, mate. Okay, mate. Well, thank you.
It's only 2 more years, and he's done half a century racing, isn't he?
I know. That's right. 75 years. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd say 50 years. I mean, 50 years. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, you've got to stick around, race for at least that. We can do a 50th anniversary edition of the podcast. We can come on for that. We can say it all over again.
I think John would rather be racing than doing the podcast.
Yeah, but
cheers, John.
Look, cheers ever so much, mate.
Brilliant. Thank you.